Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we're gonna start off our episode by talking about a game featured by IGN, and the game is called Hysteria. So Hysteria is a multiplayer FPS game that has a rather unique concept. Unlike Valorant or CSGO where they feature, well, very prominent gunplay, Hysteria's main mechanic is a ever-changing map. So how it works is the map can randomly change into different time periods. For example, right now the map might be in a futuristic setting, and when you move to another spot on the map can just change to a prehistoric setting. And of course, with such a rather unique concept, your weapon actually changes as well. So for example, if you were in the futuristic setting, your weapon is, well, a futuristic gun. But when you travel into the prehistoric setting, your weapon will then be changed into a spear. So I don't exactly know how many map randomizations the devs have designed for the game, but there is a demo coming up in the next Steam Next Fest, so if you are interested in trying out the game, I would highly suggest trying it out. Oh, by the way, the Steam Next Fest will take place on October 9 to 16. Next, we'll talk about Final Fantasy XIV. So Final Fantasy XIV has just confirmed that they are adding the feature for players to play the entire story campaign solo. You do not have to play with anyone at all, and you can finally play the entire story by yourself. If you have no friends, hallelujah, this is such great news because like any other MMOs out there, if you want to do raids or progress in the story, a lot of times you would have to team up with other players, and some people might not be able to join groups like this to actually fully enjoy the game, which is why it's great that Square Enix is adding this feature so that solo players can actually fully enjoy the game. And I think in general it's a really good quality of life enhancement that a lot of players will be thankful for, and I do hope that a lot of other developers out there actually consider putting this feature in all their games in the future, just so that I can enjoy the game solo if I want to. Next, we'll be covering some esports related news, specifically on League of Legends. So League of Legends has just recently released their brand new World Championship song called Gods, done by a popular K-pop group called New Jeans. And so far, the song has come to some pretty good reception. And if you are interested in the song, I highly suggest you check it out. Or if you're just interested in a really good cinematic experience, I actually recommend checking out the MV because the music video is actually pretty well made and has a really decent storyline of last year's world champion. And overall, I would say it lives up to the hype of a world championship competition. In any case, if you want to watch the upcoming matches, the games will start from October 10th and end on November 19th, so make sure to take note of the schedule. Lastly, we're going to talk about an unfortunate news on the game Hyena. So HYENAS has unfortunately been confirmed to be cancelled, and I think it's a pretty darn shame because I honestly thought that it was pretty decent because yes, sure, it's an extraction type of looter shooter game that we've seen before, but having you loot like olden day merch, like olden day games, Easter eggs is actually pretty cool, and having you fight off against AIs as well as other four other teams of three real players is actually pretty decent. I think it sounds pretty decent. So yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that Sega decided to pull the plug, and well, we won't really see how this game would actually end up, but well, hopefully someone develops something similar in the future, but maybe polish it out a bit more, then we might be able to enjoy a game that is pretty interesting and has a pretty decent concept. Oh, right, one last thing before I forget. So, Spider-Man 2 actually released another brand new cinematic footage, and I would say that this brand new cinematic footage is actually pretty hype because it features both of the Spider-Mans taking on a really badass Venom. And there was no gameplay footage, but I would say if you are a fan of Spider-Man or just the Spider-Man games in general, be sure to check it out because that cinematic trailer was chef's kiss. Anyway, let's talk about some games that you can get your hands on right now. Starting with Assassin's Creed Mirage. So Assassin's Creed Mirage is, well, as you might know, part of the Assassin's Creed universe, and how does it fare against the previous Assassin's Creed title? First things first, Assassin's Creed Mirage is a much shorter game compared to the previous title, and well, that is somehow great news to players because players were complaining that the previous title was way too long, and the devs have decided that, hey, we agree with that sentiment. The previous title was just way too long, so we shortened the gameplay for Assassin's Creed Mirage, which surprisingly is a good thing, oddly enough, but yeah. So yeah, all in all, if you're looking for a back to the past type of experience, I would say definitely give Assassin's Creed Mirage a shot, because in terms of the full campaign, on average, according to IGN, it takes about 10 to 17 hours depending on how fast you play the game, so not very long, not very short, and no matter what, it's an enjoyable time. Next, we'll talk about a really popular DLC that is just made available this week, and that is New World. So New World just had their brand new DLC, and well, players are calling it the best DLC ever. Why? First off, there's a ton of quality of life improvements and a lot of brand new gameplay. In terms of the quality of life improvements, I won't go into it at all because, well, I don't play New Worlds for one, so I don't really know exactly all the quality of life improvements, but there is a pretty long list and I'm not going to go through everything. But in terms of content, we have mounts now, brand new areas to explore, new PvP events, artifact items, new dungeons, as well as like new crafting systems. So a lot of content in general from what I heard, and well, supposedly there are even participation rewards for PvP from what I heard. So yeah, a lot of brand new content. So if you for one are a enjoyer of MMO games and well, just want to find another MMO to get into, maybe you got bored of FF14 or you got bored of Warcraft, then maybe give New World with its new expansion a shot. Granted, you have to pay for the expansion, so if you have the money, sure, give it a shot. If you don't, maybe stick to something that you're already playing right now. In terms of releases, the next one that I'm going to talk about is Detective Pikachu Returns, available on Switch right now. And for you guys that have not played the previous Detective Pikachu on the 3DS, I would tell you it is definitely a sight for sore eyes, because the game was a ton of fun and it just reminded me quite a fair bit of, well, I would like to say Ace Attorney, but not really, because the experience itself is pretty different, but in terms of the genre is somewhat similar, I guess. But yeah, just that now the game has better graphics? I don't know, I don't really like the new graphics that is featured on the Switch. I instead actually prefer the 3DS graphics, but maybe as I play the game more, the graphics would grow on me, but who knows. Currently I don't really like the graphics, but nonetheless, Detective Pikachu has been a pretty solid title, and I believe that the sequel on the Switch would be just as good. And if you like the Detective Pikachu series in general, I would say definitely give it a shot. In terms of free things, Epic Games Store is giving out Godlike Burger, and for PS Plus subscribers, you guys will get the Callisto Protocol, Farming Simulator 22, Weird West, and for Prime Gaming subscribers, you guys get Grunt, Ghostwire Tokyo, The Coma 2 Vicious Sisters Deluxe Edition, Monster Prom 2, Monster Camp, The Textorsis, and Super Adventure Hand. So be sure to get these games right now before it's no longer available. And that wraps up our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host for the week, Ming, and we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on another episode of Game Things next week.